Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's very special webinar called Virtual Lunch and Learns, How B2B Brands Can Pivot In-Person Meals to Work From Home Settings. My name is Klaudia Tirico, and I'm the editor of Demand Gen Report, and I will be your moderator for this presentation. Before we dive in, I'm just going to run through a couple of housekeeping slides today. So before, after, during, whenever you want, please follow along on social media using the hashtag #COSeries. All of our Twitter handles are right here on your screen, and we look forward to connecting with you on social. You'll also be able to tweet directly from within this On24 platform by using the Twitter widget on the left-hand side of your screen. Also, if you haven't done so already, please join more than 60,000 subscribers to our weekly newsletter by subscribing to demandgenreport.com today. All right, for this presentation, we'll be using the On24 platform, and during the session, you'll be able to access all the information that you need right on this toolbar. So like I mentioned earlier, you can tweet from directly within the platform using that Twitter widget on the left-hand side of your screen. And we also encourage you to ask our presenters questions today. So to do so, simply click that Q&A widget at the top right corner of your screen. The session is slated to run about 25 to 30 minutes with 10 to 15 minutes of Q&A right after. So submit those questions using that widget at any time. The session is also being recorded, and all of our attendees will receive an archived link to the presentation to go back and review and share with colleagues and friends. We also welcome you to just let us know how we're doing so we could continue to improve the level of value that we provide all of our audiences today. So please take a quick survey that will automatically launch right when the session ends. You could actually also complete and submit the survey at any time during the webinar by clicking on the survey icon that's circled right on the bottom of your screen. So before signing off today, please take a moment to take our quick questionnaire. All right, so I mentioned this is a very special webinar, but this is also a very special series this year. So I'm really excited to announce that Demand Gen Report has partnered with GrubHub for a very unique treat for our audience. Each day of the series this week, 150 lucky attendees will win a $25 GrubHub credit to support their local restaurant and enjoy lunch while they watch our presentations. If you're watching now, you should have already received an email from GrubHub, so check those inboxes and even check your spam just in case, you know, it might have landed there, just so you don't miss out. All the information can be seen right on the slide right here. And again, if you have any questions, just click that Q&A widget on your screen and feel free to ask us anything you'd like. All right, so now I'm so pleased to introduce our featured speakers for today, Madeline Maguire and Heather Grobaski of GrubHub. Madeline and Heather, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and chat with me during our campaign optimization series. How are you guys doing?
Great, thanks. Thank you so much for having us. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome, it's great to have you. Yeah, it's great to have you both. I'm sure a majority of our audience already is familiar with GrubHub, but you know, they may not be familiar that there's an actual B2B division of the company. So can you tell us a little bit about yourselves and your roles at GrubHub and just GrubHub corporate in general?
Yeah, absolutely. So like many of the people tuning in and listening today, I'm also a B2B marketer, and I currently lead the team that supports GrubHub and Seamless corporate accounts. So for those of you that are in New York City like me, you'll know us as Seamless. But what a lot of people actually don't know is that Seamless started out in the corporate B2B space. So today, Seamless is a brand under the GrubHub umbrella, and we work with thousands of corporate clients across the United States. So our corporate offering is really, focused on making it really, really easy for businesses to feed their stakeholders, whoever that might be, whether it's employees, clients, prospects, and that $25 GrubHub credit that you just heard about and hopefully received an email about this morning, that is from a GrubHub corporate account. So you're all experiencing it right now.
Awesome. Heather, how about you?
Yeah, thanks so much, Klaudia and Maddie. I'm excited to join you guys and chat and share how we've been working with marketers throughout the country and across industries. I'm a senior enterprise sales executive, and I work on the corporate side of our business. So we work with industries that are ordering into offices, maybe they're ordering into remote environments, and then virtually these days. So we work with their teams to help streamline the food ordering and the billing process of our corporate account. So I'm currently working remotely, as I'm sure many of you guys are, and I'm joining you from Houston, Texas. You may see a little fur baby running around in the background from time to time, hopefully not destroying my apartment. I recently adopted her actually from the Humane Society, so she's my COVID baby, but I'm really looking forward to the conversation today.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm keeping my eye out on her a little bit. She's so cute. So let's kick things off. I'm sure the audience is dying to hear about this program. So tell me about the GrubHub corporate accounts offering. How did it work before all of this went down? Like, how did companies actually use it before we had to socially distance ourselves from the world?
Yeah, so we were working with companies, as I kind of mentioned, to streamline the ordering of food into the office. So primarily we were working with folks that were in the office. We did have some remote meal programs that we had worked with companies to set up, but generally we were delivering food to offices either for individual meals, group orders, or catering. And so the goal of the account was to provide additional variety in restaurant and catering options and have that all housed under one umbrella. So you could be ordering food in for internal meetings or even external meetings where you're sending, food offsite for different meetings and events, or ordering in for teams that were staying late to work on projects, or even all office lunches or, Friday breakfast for the team. So you name it. If you guys were ordering food into the office, we were there to help. From a marketing perspective, ordering catering or platters into your prospect or your client's offices when you were going for in-person meetings and events. So with a corporate account, in addition to kind of helping provide an easy way to order food into the office and a ton of variety, we also help streamline that back-end billing process with a consolidated invoice that we would send the company on usually a monthly basis. And with that invoice, we were able to capture expense information for each one of those orders.
Awesome. So, now obviously there's been this sudden shift. It came out of nowhere. None of us were really prepared for it. So tell us about how the offering has now evolved. I know in past conversations that I've had with both of you mentioned that people started coming to you to start, helping them with their virtual events. So can you share a little bit about how marketers are using this program now?
For sure, Klaudia. So as you mentioned, the environment has really shifted almost exclusively to virtual unless you're an essential business and you're still in your office. Even though maybe you are an essential business and you're in your office, they're generally not allowing any external vendors in for meetings and events. And as you know, trade shows have either been postponed or transitioned to a virtual setting. So marketers have approached us looking for a solution on how they can still engage with those prospects and clients for an event and include a food and beverage component to engage and drive attendance. So with a GrubHub Seamless corporate account, we've really provided an easy solution to be able to do this. As Maddie had mentioned, and Klaudia, you guys are utilizing that $25 credit. So this is very similar to how you can set that up for your virtual meeting or event, whether that's a breakfast or a happy hour, a lunch and learn. We've been approached by several different marketers for different kind of use cases, as we would call them. And as a marketer, you're able to really customize the event. So you can say, for this event, I want $30. Maybe for another event, you want to do 25 or 50. So you determine the dollar amount that you want to provide to that attendee, and they actually just apply it on the checkout page. And then the food and beverage is delivered to their home or office. And this is charged directly to the company. So you're provided with that consolidated invoice where you're able to actually track the orders for the event. And hopefully that's going to help determine kind of the ROI that you guys are seeing from hosting these.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely imagine that this is an awesome kind of perk to really boost registration and attendance rates for all of these virtual meetings and different meal offerings and things like that. So can you share any examples of just like unique ways marketers have used the program and maybe the type of events they're hosting and the different delivery models?
Sure. So we've seen a variety of different events, from breakfast or brunch events to lunch and learns, and even happy hours, where marketers are using our platform to drive RSVPs by offering a GrubHub credit. So this is really a great way for your salespeople to kind of customize their follow-up after the event and ask them, how was your breakfast? How was your lunch? Or we've also seen it used from BDR perspective, where that BDR is looking to secure a first meeting for that sales rep. So as many of you guys know, a good meal that's not cooked at home is great these days and can really go a long way. I think everyone's kind of sick of cooking their own meals right now.
Oh my God, you're absolutely right. I was actually just thinking that this morning. I was like, I have been cooking every day this week. I'm getting takeout because I'm just so tired of having to sit in the kitchen for an hour after working all day. So what about from the marketing side? How can this be tailored for different marketing strategies, specifically for B2B companies?
Yeah, so there are so many different ways that you can leverage meals to enhance your event, but I think it really comes down to three things: your audience, your budget, your goal. So for example, if you were hosting an exclusive event for senior executives and wanting to transition that into a virtual event, and your goal is really to use meals as a hook to drive attendance, with these super hard to reach prospects. You may want to offer a higher budget per person, so that they can order from more premium restaurants to kind of align with the expectations of this audience. If on the other hand, if you're focused on engagement and you really want to create more of an experiential component, it's actually a really good idea to offer your credit within a certain window of time. So what that means is that everybody would have their meals delivered around the same time together, and they can eat together and really create a nice moment that really elevates your virtual event. On the other hand, if it's more like a sales-focused event and you really want to make sure people are actually tuning in for the content, we can work with you to set it up so that there's an incentive by making people attend the duration of the session in order to access the credit. So there's a ton of different ways to tailor it depending on, like I said, the audience, budget, and goal and strategy.
I love that. Also, obviously depends, especially with the happy hours, depending on where it's actually legal to get alcohol delivered, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly right.
Love it. So can we dive a little bit deeper into how the entire process works? So what's the onboarding like? What really is involved from both parties to kind of facilitate this and make sure it kind of goes seamlessly?
I love the word seamless, since that is our partner brand in New York. So the process is actually pretty seamless and simple. You'll chat with your GrubHub sales executive. So you want to meet with them, really determine your specific ideas and needs and what you're looking to accomplish. Also use them as a consultant, because they're likely working with other marketers either in your industry or outside your industry, and they can share what these other competitors or industries are doing to maybe help you and spawn some new ideas. Then we create and customize an account that's based on those needs. we'll provide a training to launch for your first event. Usually we coincide the training with your first event, so it's really, really fresh. We'll help get that all set up for you, and then follow up after the event. So do we need to alter anything for the future event? And what's really nice about the corporate account is that it's customizable for each event. I know Maddie alluded to, having a certain budget for, maybe a breakfast versus maybe an upscale happy hour or dinner. So you could provide $30 credit for one event or $50 credit for another event, like order a steak on us or something like that. So the account can really grow with your needs, and even think about it more from a long-term perspective. So when meetings and events start returning to offices, you have the ability to still utilize the account for, say, group order or catering or box meal functions that are still available on the account to meet those needs.
Awesome. And, I know Maddie alluded to it earlier, but again, I assume people, we want to avoid the instances where people are just registering for it just to get that credit and then just leaving or something like that. So what are some tips to kind of avoid that?
Yeah, so how we've worked with some companies to avoid that, and oftentimes you don't want to obviously have this happen, but you can wait until the morning of the event to send the invite to that prospect, and also provide them with a code so that they have to enter a code at checkout to utilize that credit. Other times, we've seen that the credit is actually sent post-meeting. So for example, if you're hosting an 11 a.m. virtual meeting, you would send the credit only to the people that participated in the meeting versus your RSVP list. So I know marketers are really kind of testing both ways to see what works best. And in this time, sometimes it is just trial and error, but there are ways that we can ensure that you're reducing the amount of those folks just registering, getting the credit, and not attending the event.
Yeah, absolutely. You could also, put the code that you mentioned in the slide itself, in your presentation slide at the end, to make sure people are actively, listening and engaged with the content. I mean, there's a ton of different ways to achieve that.
Awesome. And I know Heather mentioned tracking and things like that. So what kind of reporting does the GrubHub offer?
Yeah, so we have reporting on the back end of our platform. So you have the ability to run reports, which will show all of your orders. You can run it by a specific event date, so you can see all of the orders, actually the name of the individual who's placed the orders. If you've required them to enter the code, you can run it by code. And we've also seen other, instead of using a code, they have this, the attendee enter their sales rep's name at checkout, so they can sort and see, what sales reps are driving kind of the most attendance, et cetera. And so you can do all of that from a reporting feature. And then from an invoice standpoint, you have the ability to kind of slice and dice that information by region. So say you have one large account for the company, but different regions or different marketers by region, you can then kind of slice and dice that information to see, maybe in the Northeast, it's a little bit more successful than the Midwest. And, why is that occurring? Do we need to increase the budget to get more attendance, et cetera? So those metrics are there for you to utilize and make decisions based on them.
Great. Well, I mean, I think we covered everything about the corporate accounts offering, but is there anything that you'd like to add about the program that would be valuable to our audience? Did I miss anything?
Well, everyone is shifting to these virtual events, and I'm personally getting flooded with invites daily for different meetings and events that have now gone virtual. So I think as a best practice to really be able to, set yourself apart and get noticed. Not everyone is offering a brunch or a lunch or happy hour where attendees can order food and drink in. And I feel like this is a really great way to set yourself apart.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Heather. Like you said, all of us have been inundated with virtual event requests. I think I've been invited to 5 or 6 different webinars today alone. So I think it really is about finding, those points of differentiation, and, being very, value focused in the content that you're delivering. And really just making sure that it's, worth your attendees' time, because their time is very precious right now.
Absolutely. All right, I have a fun little lightning round coming up, but I have one more final question. And since Madeline and Heather are both in B2B marketing and sales, respectively, what advice or best practices or tips can you share with marketers currently navigating this crazy world we're in? What are you focusing on these days?
Oh,
Should
sorry,
I go
Maddie,
first?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, sorry, I should have said I was first. Go for it.
Yeah, no, I'll go first. So I think, from a marketing perspective, my biggest advice is just to, like I said, just really focus on where you can add value. So we shouldn't stop communicating with our audience right now. In fact, we should be communicating a lot, but we need to make sure that when we speak to them, it's in a way that is helpful and thoughtful and, above all, like human. I think it's not business as usual. It just isn't. So we really need to lead with messaging that, really meets your audience where they are, today, and addresses the challenges that they're facing right now. I think, that is incredibly important, just to acknowledging the situation. And, there's really never been a more important time to walk in your customer's shoes, and all the messaging that you send to them should really be focused on that. So you just got to remember, like in a lot of cases, our clients and prospects, they're time poor. They're juggling a lot of competing demands at work and at home. So if we're asking for their time and attention, we should really think about how are our messages really adding value to them. So yeah, just I guess my biggest advice is just that in strategy and communications, we should really be starting from a place of how can we help? Like, how can we help our customers? Determine what their needs are and figure out how we can help solve them.
I love that. Heather, how about you? Any tips?
Me too. I love that, Maddie. That's pretty much all I would want to say too. But I think being really empathetic, right? So this is a hard time. You don't know somebody else's struggles, right? So, or their business struggles, their personal struggles. Right now, it's all kind of conflating, right? Business, personal on a day-to-day basis. So being empathetic, being there, you're there to provide them with a consultative advice, right? They're looking for new ways to do business differently, and you're there to help provide that perspective. And, everybody is also looking for a way to stretch a dollar further because of the economic times that we're in. So providing value from that perspective as well.
Awesome. Great answers from the both of you. All right. So I'm going to do a fun little quarantine lightning round. So I'll throw the question out, and Maddie and Heather, you can fight over who answers first. All right. First one. What are you watching?
So I actually just finished the morning show on Apple TV Plus with Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon, and loved it. Thought it was such a great show. The writing's incredible, the acting's amazing, and would recommend it to anybody.
Yes, I've heard so many good things about that show. So that will be next on my list. But I'm watching, just like everyone else in America, Tiger King. Mind
Oh,
blown.
yes. I know.
Is all I will say to that.
So, funny you said that, and I didn't realize until I actually saw the first episode of Tiger King that I've actually been to Carol Baskin's sanctuary in Tampa, Florida. So I had no idea that they were going to reference it. So I was watching and I was like, wait, I've been there. I've met her. I met her husband and all that. So at my old job, it was like a press trip that was going on, and they invited us over to take a look at the place. And it's just so crazy to kind of go back to there now after seeing it. And, now I have some new opinions, but I'll avoid that today. Next question. What are you reading?
So I try to read the news daily, although it can get a bit depressing. So sometimes they take timeouts. But I started actually rereading Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. I love that book. It's so great personally and professionally, and it's very, very uplifting. And it's just great tips that you can use in everyday life.
Yes, that is a great book. So I always have a few books going at any one time, to be honest. But right now I'm reading Dare to Lead by Brene Brown, who I absolutely love. A lot of you on the call have probably seen her TED Talks or her Netflix special. She's great. But I'm also reading a book called Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney, who's an awesome up-and-coming Irish author. Highly recommend.
Awesome. I definitely have to, I haven't read any of those, so I'm definitely going to check them out for sure. Next question is, how are you kind of staying inspired and immersed in your work these days?
So I think my work is something that I can control when there's so many outside things that you can't control. So being focused and, driving business to the restaurants during this time is so important. So I love the product. I love the company that we work for. And every day I feel like we're helping small businesses stay afloat until things kind of open back up. So it's a great distraction, I'll be honest. And it's something that you can, really focus on and make a difference. And that's what makes me motivated, or helps keep me motivated, I should say.
Yeah. I totally agree with you, Heather. I mean, I've been really proud, to work at GrubHub through this time, just because there's been such a focus on supporting the restaurant partners. And, we all work here because we love restaurants and we love the restaurant industry. So that has definitely been, a big motivator for me. And also just, I have an awesome team who inspire me a lot with the fabulous work that they've been doing. And, obviously staying connected to family and friends on too many FaceTimes and Zooms to count has really helped as well.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Final question in the quarantine lightning round, and I couldn't help myself. So what is your favorite place or type of food to order off of GrubHub or Seamless?
So I am obsessed with Asian. So it's every week I either get sushi or Chinese, or some weeks I just order both.
Love it.
Love that. You got to just do both. I think that's the key. So obviously being in New York City, I have to say pizza. It is the best in the world. And there's a neighborhood spot called Vezzo that is just incredible. So I'm a very regular orderer at that place.
Awesome. I love that. Both great choices, and also on my order list basically every week. So yeah, that's all of my questions. Thank you so much to Madeline and Heather. But I've been kind of keeping track of this Q&A widget, and we've gotten some really good questions from the audience. But before I get to those, I just want to remind everyone once again to please share your thoughts and feedback right before logging off today. You can do so by clicking that survey icon, or the survey is going to automatically launch when the session ends. All right, so I'm going to flip this slide to a very similar slide, but a little different. One quick thing before I get to our questions. If we don't get to your question today in the amount of time that we have, don't worry about it. We'll make sure that all of your questions are answered via email. All right, so here we go. Let's get to those questions. All right, first one. How much of a meal stipend do you suggest providing guests? And what happens if they spend more?
So I think you have to think of it like, what type of event are you going to be hosting? Is it a breakfast, a lunch, a happy hour? Is it more casual? Is it more upscale? I would say kind of good dollar amounts for like a breakfast would be anywhere from maybe $20 to $25, a lunch, maybe $30. And if you're looking to do something a bit more upscale and intimate, like $50 to $100. So, and then I also it depends on the market, right? So if you're in New York or San Francisco, you're probably going to want to offer a higher budget to someone that's maybe in those markets than a less expensive market. And you can actually set different budgets based on the market. And to finish your last question, if someone goes over that specific budget, so say it's $30, they order $35 worth of food, they would just enter in their credit card to cover any overages.
Awesome, that makes sense. Yeah, that New York pizza is good, but it's not cheap, right? All right, next question. How do you handle attendees joining in different time zones? Can meal credits be set up for certain time frames in specific time zones so that everyone can eat lunch directly during the specific time allotted?
Yes, so you can provide your credit / kind of budget, which includes an ordering window when they can place orders. So I always recommend to have a very large ordering window. For example, if you're hosting a lunch, allowing orders to be placed anytime from like 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And each of those would apply to your specific time zone. So providing a larger ordering window really makes for less questions or issues on why a budget may not show up for the attendee. So it's less of a logistical kind of hassle for the marketer if you provide that large ordering window, but it does go by time zone. So it'll just apply to whatever time zone you're in.
Interesting. All right, next one. Oh, this is a good one. We work with multiple sales reps. How can we track which orders are for what reps?
So I've seen it done a couple of different ways, and Maddie can totally chime in as well. One way I've seen is that the marketer will have the attendee enter the sales rep's name at point of sale. So when the attendee goes to check out, it's required to enter the sales rep's name there, who they had the meeting with. Or I've also seen it happen where they enter a code, like a corresponding code that is tied to that specific rep. So if they don't, as an attendee, enter, say, the sales rep's name or code, whatever you guys are kind of having it set up as, they're not able to actually place their order. They have to enter it to place the order.
Gotcha. All right. I think we have time for one more question. Attendees join my event from all over the country. How do I know if the offering is available in my town or in their towns?
Perfect. Yes, of course. These are we're a national platform. A lot of folks are hosting national meetings where you have people coming in from all over the country. We have over 300,000 restaurants on our platform. And so we really cover every major market, secondary market, suburban locations, and even many small markets, because we have national restaurant partnerships like Yum Brands or Panera that are in smaller markets. But if you ever have really a specific question about coverage, you can simply enter an address in on our website and see what's available.
Awesome. All right, well, that's all the time we have for questions today, but I just wanted to, again, thank you, Madeline and Heather, for taking the time to sit down with me and share all the details about GrubHub corporate accounts. It sounds yummy and delicious and just a really great way to drive engagement from our audiences during this difficult time. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Thank you so much for having
Klaudia.
us.
Yeah. So everyone, thank you again for taking the time to sit in and listen to us have this awesome conversation. You could check out all the rest of the sessions throughout the week. They'll be launching daily. We'll have like 2 or 3 a day. And yeah, if you attend, then don't forget to check your inboxes for that special $25 GrubHub credit, courtesy of our new friends at GrubHub and Demand Gen Report. So thank you everyone again, and have a great rest of your week. Stay safe.